2, 3, 4. I declare trade war. Thank you for tuning in to Blue Dog Radio. This is your host, the Wag. So this year, our trade gap with China has reached an almost $300 billion now. We're selling them some stuff, but they're selling us way more than we're selling them. All you have to do is go to Allmart or J-Mart or Toys R Them, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Turn on the back of any toy or clothing item and made in China, made in China, made in China. Some people are going to accuse me of racism for talking about this. This is not about racism. I have nothing against the people of China. But our unemployment rate is stubbornly above 8% as it has been since this whole recession began. And the truth of the matter is our economy really has not been good since 2000 when we signed the China Free Trade Agreement. Here's what's going on. You all might think that it's as simple as labor is cheaper in China. That's a factor, but there's so much more to it. The Chinese government has been devaluing their currency to make their items artificially cheap. It's been estimated that their currency is devalued about 40% cheaper than it should be at its natural level. You add that to the fact that they put all kinds of barriers in place when we try to sell them stuff. You add to the fact that we have a ridiculously high corporate tax rate. You add to the fact that we have no national consumption tax except for what little bit of tariffs we use. You factor all that in, and it's so easy for companies to send our jobs to China, make the stuff, and sell it right back to us. I mean, they get taxed harder if they make the stuff here than if they make it over there. Even with shipping costs, it's still cheaper. And we need to do something about this, or before you know it, we're not going to have any manufacturing left. All while we're doing this and they're making the money over there, you know what's happening? We're sinking ourselves deeper and deeper into debt, and our government's borrowing the money from China. Did you know that our government owes China over $1 trillion now? That's right, $1 trillion. If we slap a tariff on them, we could start using some of that money from the tariffs. That is, a tax on anything imported from China. We could use some of that money to start chipping away at our deficit. Maybe even have some chance of balancing our budget. Furthermore, we bring jobs back to America. That creates more jobs, which means more income, which means more tax revenue. We really need to balance our budget because we can't run on debt forever or we're going to end up like Greece. And as for China, if we do get into a trade war with them, they brought it on themselves. They're the ones who've been devaluing their currency. They are the ones who put children to work in factories for ridiculously long hours, and there's no insurance for those poor kids if they get injured in the factory. They just get thrown out in the streets. What do they care? They have over 1 billion people. Just throw them in the streets and replace them with some more people. They got so many people, they can afford to do that. So they condemn their people to a miserable life and cripple our economy all at the same time. The truth of the matter is we are in a trade war already. We're just not fighting back. They've been fighting us since we got into this stupid free trade agreement. This recession we're in, it's not Obama's fault and it's not Bush's fault. You want to know whose fault it is? Bill Clinton and the Republicans in Congress. A Democratic president, a Republican Congress, they are to blame. They signed this stupid agreement and we've been suffering ever since. Once we get real, once we start fighting back, we can begin to rebuild this country. We've been using tariffs ever since George Washington. It's in our Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Congress can collect taxes, duties, imposts, excises. Duties, imposts, those are tariffs. That's what we used to do. We used to run our country on tariffs, and back then we had jobs. So let's put some tariffs in place. Let's bring jobs back to America. Let's become self-sufficient again. And the blue dogs in Congress, by the way, they generally oppose these stupid free trade agreements, and they push for tariffs. The people who oppose the tariffs, it's some of the more liberal Democrats, but it's also a lot of the Republicans, a lot of the people you think are conservatives. They're not trying to conserve anything. They're trying to send our jobs to China. I don't know what they're getting out of it, but they're the ones coming up with all these free trade agreements. And free trade basically means we don't tax them, but they do all kinds of crap to us. Let me tell you something. It's not about who's the most competitive. They're doing stuff to protect their jobs over there. Over there, they don't have much of any of a corporate tax rate. Over there, there's all kinds of hurdles you have to jump through if you want to sell them something. And lately, by the way, the Chinese actually have been starting to put tariffs now. They put tariffs on cars from the U.S. The one area where we're still able to compete, where we still have manufacturing jobs, they're attacking it now as we speak. We need to fight back, and we need to fight back hard, and I know we can do it. And don't whine to me about how your clothes are going to be more expensive. It's not going to matter if we don't have any more jobs in this country. If we have to pay a little more for clothing, so be it. We need to fight back, and we need to fight back now. Thank you for tuning in to Blue Dog Radio. This is the WAG signing off.